Okay, here we are again at the Catchpin Loop parking area on Deer Creek Road, Mount Charleston Wilderness outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, and spent a lot of time going up to Mummy's Nose, which you see right here, about 3 different adventures in this area. Today is not going to be Mummy's Nose, but we're going to go to the left and see how far we can get to Mummy's Forehead. You can't see Mummy's Forehead from here, but it would be behind the nose and another, I don't know, half mile, 3/4 mile, 1 mile. Anyway, it's behind the nose, or you might say north of the nose. If you've been watching my Mummy's Nose videos, you know that this canyon, 7 Mile Canyon, has 2 ridges, one on either side. And here's the eastern ridge. And here is the western ridge. Both ridges lead up to Mummy's Nose, and the entry point actually to the final approach is right up to the right of that cliff. Okay, we've done all that, and there's a road, 092A Forest Road, that begins right in this area. And you can actually take this road up the center and then veer to the right and then, or the left, and head up to one of the ridges that I just pointed out and go to Mummy's Nose. Well, one thing that I haven't done so far is taken the eastern ridge here and taken that all the way up. So we're going to summit this eastern ridge rather quickly from the start of this forest road here, and then take that ridge up to where it gets close to that lower cliff that you can see ahead on the left side of Mummy's Nose. We're going to circle around the base of that lower cliff and see how far we can get toward Mummy's Forehead. No promises today. This may be the last day that I'm up at this altitude, which means next summer would be where I pick up where I left off today. And a shout out to Edwina and Becky, who met me at the trail, took the time here at the trailhead to say hi. They've been watching the videos and doing some of the hikes, and I hope you find the airplane wreckage you're looking for today somewhere on the west slope or around the west slope area. Okay, so let's head up toward the left side of Mummy's Nose and then see if we can circle around to Mummy's Forehead. Here we go. Okay, here we are. We just crossed Deer Creek Road. Just want to point out that, yeah, things get a little confusing over across the road because you end up in this open area with a number of trail openings. There's one to the far right over there. It's actually a road that circles around the base of the western ridge there. And you see another opening here. I think it leads just to a camp spot. And then there is another opening here. Maybe that's another camp spot. We don't know. But one of the main ones is, and the one I'm going to take, is right here. And this leads up Forest Road 092. And we are going to head right up the slope here. Here's the eastern ridge. And you can see there's a little, what looks like a little trail. Uh, who knows? These things can look like trails and then you end up just on the ridge, but no problem. So up we go. And by the way, yeah, here's another little trail that leads up I think I'll take this one up to the top of the ridge. And also, today I'm testing out my new approach boots. They have Vibram soles, which is a very sticky sole that clings to things. And when you're on the rocks up near the summit of Mummy's nose and Mummy's forehead, yeah, they cling to those rocks. It's like being Spider-Man. So anyway, up we go. Okay, quick report on the Vibram boots. This is the first time I've ascended a scree hill. This, as you can see, it's pretty steep here. The first time I've ascended it with these boots. I can tell you my trail running shoes slide around a lot. These boots just grabbed the surface, even on this loose rock. So yeah, good choice. My climbing buddies have um, been moving along so easily, wondering why I'm slipping on the scree, and now I think I know why. Trail shoes aren't the best for this kind of surface. Okay, onward. Okay, quick observation. This eastern ridge is fairly open to navigate. And they could be pathways, they could be uh, just the formation of the scree rock, but it's pretty easy to weave around the brush without actually going through any underbrush, which I don't like to do that. But wow, look at this. Already, I've only been about 3 or 4 minutes on this slope, and wow, what a view all around us. There's Angel Peak, and then here across Deer Creek Road is the ridge that Catchpen Loop Trail circles, and the west end is on the left, and the right end of the loop is on the right. So yeah, how beautiful it is up here. There's the valley below. And then one of my important reference points for any adventure up in this area is the sheep range. And so when you're returning, just keep heading toward the sheep range and you'll hit Deer Creek Road. And chances are, if you made a beeline straight toward the sheep range, you will end up at the Catchpen Loop trailhead. But then you can see this ridge here that also helps. So yeah, how beautiful it is up here already within just a few minutes of starting. So let's continue to wind our way up this eastern ridge. Okay, here's an early high point. Boy, you get up here fast. And if this is the only place that you're going on the eastern ridge, it's worth it just for the view. Look at this. Mummy's nose up there. And then you can see the lower saddle between Mummy's nose and the summit area of Mummy. And Mummy's nose is 10,700 feet. The summit of Mummy is 11,500 feet, approximately 520. Anyway, yeah, look at the nose, looks so much higher than the main summit. Pretty amazing. The main summit is actually um, about 800 feet higher than the nose. So anyway, yeah, look at this view. By the way, there's little camp area. Somebody camped up here. What a view. How the stars must have looked that night. And there is the Desert Overlook viewpoint area on Deer Creek Road, just to give you an idea of the bearings. And we're always watching for the bearings so that we can navigate back. There's the Eastern Ridge, and it also has an early high point. By the way, yeah, this is definitely straight up. It proved that on loose rock, the approach boots work a lot better, grab the ground better than my trail running shoes. But I guess you don't do much trail running on this kind of terrain. Okay, so anyway, yeah, we're heading up. We're going to see if we can hit that saddle between Mummy's Nose and the main summit area. And up there, to the left and behind Mummy's Nose, is also Mummy's Chin. So we'll look at that too, and just get an idea of the scrambled features of the head from this perspective. But wow, definitely, if you can only make it to this first high point on the Eastern Ridge, it's well worth it. By the way, I nicknamed this Eastern Ridge, by the way, there's the sheep range, good reference point. I nicknamed this Eastern Ridge Lightning Ridge because the first time I was on it, I was caught in a thunderstorm. Lots of thunder around, hailstones. Second time I was on this ridge, thunderstorm again, and hearing the sound of thunder. And guess what I just heard a moment ago? Yes, thunder again. So yeah, I'm gonna keep the nickname Lightning Ridge for this Eastern Ridge. Okay, and you reach a high point here. I think there may be some descent ahead, and then on up the Eastern Ridge to a point where we're going to begin traversing toward that saddle. So this gives you a little higher perspective of the route we're going to be taking. Okay, onward. And by the way, for more perspective, there across the 7 Mile Canyon, which is below, is the Western Ridge. Very beautiful. Both of these ridges are just amazing. They're incredible. Alpine area, fairly untouched. I don't think many people traverse these ridges. Most people that even go to Mummy Mountain go to the main summit. Fewer go to the nose, and more people than go to the summit of Mummy Mountain definitely go up to Charleston Peak because it's the highest. But let me tell you, Mummy is so much more beautiful in my thinking. So, okay, onward. Okay, yeah, one minor drawback of the Eastern Ridge is that, yes, you've got quite a little descent, and then you continue on the ridge. And my target is the saddle just to the right and below that next high point. I'm not going to go up to the high point, but I'm going to go to that saddle and take a right and just see how the Eastern Ridge continues. We will see Camp Stimpson below this ridge line ahead of us, just to give you another reference point. So let's continue. This descent between the two ridges heading up toward the saddle is not as dramatic as it at first seemed. Just a kind of shallow descent, and then up you go to the right turn on the ridge line and continuing. So we'll see what things look like from that saddle in the high point just to the right. That should reveal a lot. Okay, here's a discovery. If you head for that lower high point to the right of the saddle we were looking at a moment ago, there is no descent. And the ridge just winds around and continues upward to that next high point. There's the higher point, and there's the saddle between. And by the way, the clouds you see above are making this ridge line live up to its name. I'm hearing thunder around me, and I'm just hoping that these clouds are going to blow over, except, wow, look at that that's heading toward me. So we're going to end up in some rain and hail before too long. Should be interesting. Okay, here we are on that second high point. It was the high point to the right of the higher point. So we got the saddle below the higher point, and don't want to spend much time on this high point because there is thunder around, and that's not a good thing to be on a ridge top, being the highest target on a high point like this. Anyway, yeah, beautiful mountain mahogany, pines all around, ponderosas. There's Mummy's Nose, and there's the saddle, which is my target. And by the way, yeah, Camp Simpson below this ridge line just to the east. Okay, onward and upward. Try to stay a little lower than the highest point on the ridge. Well, I was betting that I'd dodge the bullet with that first thunderstorm. And yeah, clouds above. However, the rain falling seems to be moving further away in the distance. And we're at another high point on the ridge. So I thought I'd point out some things. There's Angel Peak, point of reference. And now here's the La Madre Mountains. Camp Stimson below. And there's what may be the director's house. Who knows? Built of the same materials and design as the uh, buildings in Camp Stimson. And then there you have Bristlecone Ridge on the North Loop Trail, just a little bit above the North Loop Trail, which circles around behind. And if by chance you remember going up those switchbacks, getting up to that high point, they're right in this area, directly above the building that I pointed out just a moment ago. There's Mummy's Toe, and then on up to Mummy's main summit. More storm clouds ahead, hoping we dodge all these bullets today. We shall see. And there's, yeah, Mummy's main summit, and between Mummy's main summit and Mummy's Nose, which is on the right, is that passage we're looking for. And then, yeah, here's Mummy's Nose. Beautiful ridge. And then below us is 7 Mile Canyon. And it keeps descending across Deer Creek Road, and the corresponding route below Deer Creek Road is Deer Creek Catch Pen Loop Trail. Awesome little trail. There's the Western Ridge. We're on the Eastern Ridge. And this whole area, you just can't lose. It's beautiful alpine. And then, yeah, you can see the valley below. I always like to keep my escape route in view. And I'm still not sure whether that rain that you see descending from the clouds is coming toward us or not. But there's the sheep range. That's the um, directional reference point that we're going to use on the way back, along with these ridges and Angel Peak and the other high points that I pointed out a moment ago. And then over here, little pointy mountain, that's Gas Peak at the above the summit of Decatur Road and the Clark County Gun Range. Beautiful views from Gas Peak. It's the closest thing to being in an airplane above Las Vegas. In fact, it's actually better because you got a 360-degree view. Okay, here you can see a little more clearly what we need to traverse in order to get to the saddle up there. And on the right side of that saddle is part of Mummy's chin. And then along the chin, you can head up to the nose, but I mean to the forehead. There are a lot of gullies and ledges and ups and downs, as you can see, between where we're standing and this area right at the base of these rocks, which is our goal, to circle around the back side of those rocks and see if we can head up to Mummy's forehead. In the meantime, just a quick word about thunderstorms in the mountains. You don't want to be on ridges like this during a thunderstorm. The only reason I'm up here is that, first of all, I check the weather report before I leave, and the weather report was predicting sun, no clouds or very few clouds in Las Vegas. But yeah, when you're in the mountains, you're in a different weather system, and there's a weather system that um, just moves right along these Charleston Wilderness Spring Mountains from south to north. And so you can't really predict. Another thing that I'm watching for is wind patterns. And it looks like this cloud formation ahead. I'm still not absolutely sure which direction it's heading. It looks like it might be heading toward me. Hopefully we'll dodge the bullet. This one behind, which is much larger, yeah, it looks like it's heading away. Can't be entirely sure, but you just want to keep your eye on the clouds, the formations, know what's a thundercloud. And also, what you want to do is have an escape route. Now, I've got two um, gullies on, or canyons on either side of this ridge that I'm on. The one over here is 7 Mile Canyon. So if it turned out to be thunder and hailstones, I would descend into 7 Mile Canyon, because you don't want to be on a high point during a thunderstorm. One final little caveat is that You've probably heard the phrase a bolt out of the blue. And that's not just a phrase, but it's a reality that there can be, lightning bolts. It can be sunny in the area of a thunderstorm, blue sky, and a lightning bolt due to the ionization in the atmosphere just all of a sudden appears out of nowhere. So, things to watch for. Now, something I just noticed is here's a little limestone cave. Some of these caves in the mountains, and this is at the base of Mummy's Nose, getting up there could be a real challenge if you wanted to explore it because there are vertical cliffs all around it. But some of these caves go back for some way and can be very beautiful inside. Anyway, yeah, heading in this direction, onward. And by the way, another thing to watch carefully is where thunderstorms are in the area. If you have a sudden drop in temperature, that's not a good sign, and an increase in wind speed around you. Okay, let's see what the area below us looks like. We'll see how high we can stay and yet traverse that area toward the saddle that would then take us up to Mummy's chin. Well, most living objects I see out here move too fast to get my phone out and take a picture. Here's one that doesn't move that fast. I'm not sure what this is, meaning what kind of insect, what kind of butterfly it turns into, but yeah, pretty beautiful. We'll see if we can figure that out. Maybe somebody that's watching this knows. Okay, it's lightening up out here, which is nice. Thunderclouds seem to be moving in different directions other than the direction that I am. Okay, and here is that cliff. We want to skirt the base of that cliff, which means we need to get over this next ridge ahead and just look around and see what the world looks like from that ridge. It looks like a great way to do that is continue hugging the just below the upper edge of this ridge that I'm on, and then circle around to the next ridge with minimal loss of altitude on the way. Definitely don't want to go straight for it. That's a lot of altitude drop and ascent. Okay, so anyway, let's continue on. We're in the bristlecone pine zone now. A few ponderosa pines still, and mountain mahogany. A lot of mountain mahogany. Very, very beautiful. Looks like there might have been a fire at one point. Up here, there's an old mountain mahogany skeleton. Here's a bristlecone. It's another bristlecone. And if there was a fire, yeah, it didn't make it in that fire. Okay, onward. Okay, here's looking back at a high point on the eastern ridge where we stood not long ago. with concerns about thunderstorms. And yeah, we're not out of the woods yet, but they seem to be diminishing. Anyway, yeah, so I headed across, I traversed this ridge. I probably could have stayed in the center of the ridge. I will on the way back, and chances are that it meets up with this next ridge. There it is continuing to ascend, and here is the next ridge, which is my target. And so I want to get on top of this ridge and then look across and see what we can see of the terrain between the top of this ridge and Mummy's forehead. So upward, not too far now to being able to top this ridge. Looks like it may be turning out to be a great day. So I'm on top of that next ridge over. Wanted to see what things look like on the other side of the ridge. And yeah, major downhill unless we head up this ridge a little bit and then try to circle around the base of the cliffs that you see. I'll get a better shot of those soon, but those are the Mummy's Nose cliffs. And I actually believe I have been here before. This is the ridge that heads down to Camp Stimson, and Camp Stimson is in the lower valley below us there. Cougar Ridge is the near ridge, little lower ridge. You can maybe pick it out in the foreground. There's a higher ridge behind. There's Mummy's Toe and the higher Bristlecone Pine Ridge and all those switchbacks on the North Loop Trail. They go up toward Bristlecone Pine Ridge, and they ascend from a beautiful plateau area, which is somewhere right down in this area above the house, or maybe a little over. I think that might be that beautiful bristlecone pine plateau on the North Loop Trail. Anyway, yeah, and the La Madre Mountains in the background. And then moving over this way, keeping our reference points in mind, there is the Eastern Ridge. And maybe these ridges don't meet up above. It looks like I may have traversed over to this ridge at the best traverse point, though it was pretty steep hillside to traverse. Anyway, yeah, let's continue toward the Mummy's forehead area, chin, down in these cliffs. We'll get a better view in a bit and see if we can traverse over toward that area without too much of a deep dive into the canyons below. If this area is too broken up, it may not be the best approach to where we're going. Another approach is if you look at the Mummy's Nose from Lee Canyon page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and you'll see on that page or on that adventure a high saddle that we reached and then headed up toward Mummy's Nose. That saddle you could also descend and angle around toward the chin area over here. And so, yeah, Lee Canyon may actually be, it's so steep, but it may be a little more direct to where we're going without so much broken up territory as we see ahead of us. Okay, here's a better view of the terrain ahead. Very beautiful up here. Combination of limestone formations, bristlecone pine, roots growing right out of the limestone, seemingly. Very, very beautiful. There's Mummy's Nose. There's that cave that we were looking at earlier. Yeah, you can see the cliff below it and above it and on either side. Doesn't look like that cave's going to be an easy goal to reach ever, but we're not heading there today. Here's that cliff. Let's see. Yeah, the edge of that cliff is what we've been looking toward all the way down from Deer Creek Road and wanting to skirt the lower edge of that cliff. Don't know if that's possible. There is a lot of broken up terrain between where we're standing and the lower edge of that cliff. So who knows? Beautiful view of Mummy Mountain. Over to Mummy's Toe. Look at that framed in the bristlecone. And I've got a number of adventures going to Mummy's Summit, Mummy's Toe, Mummy's Nose. Not the forehead yet. And looking down toward Camp Stimson, over to Angel Peak. Almost sounds like there's a gun range down there somewhere. And then through these trees ahead is hopefully the approach back to the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon, making that return easier than this has been. I think that part of my problem is that I've been traversing rather than trying to stay on the top of the ridges. So I think this ridge right here would actually be an easier route to the eastern ridge than the one I took, traversing along here on the loose rock. The one good note is that those Vibram soled boots, it's right here. Wow, they really cling to the rocks and dig into the surface of this loose rock so that you don't need to slide around all over the place. Okay, so onward, let's see if we can head straight across or as close to straight across as possible without too much up and down in the process, and keep heading toward the edge of that cliff. One quick note, when you're traversing across a number of gullies like I've been doing, you want to find the sweet spot. If you're too low, you're going to be doing a whole lot of ascending and descending and a lot of rock climbing. If you're too high, you're going to experience some problems up at the higher altitude. There's a sweet spot, at least here, that's right between high and low and continuing across these gullies. So we'll see how that bears out. Well, so far this hasn't been too difficult a traverse. Trying to find a place to stand here, but it's pretty interesting. It's an area of Mummy's Nose that I haven't seen before. See, we're on the eastern side of the Mummy's Nose cliffs. It's right above. Let's see if I can do a 360-degree turn without losing it. But you can see loose limestone above. And here's the area I've been traversing. And what's made this traverse work so far is that I'm skirting the area just, most of the time, just below the loose limestone where there is, I don't know, kind of a soil. The drop the pine needles from the various pines in the area. A lot of bristlecone, ponderosa. So anyway, that makes it fairly easy to traverse. On the way back, though, I think I'll try to hit a ridge line and find that eastern ridge and return down to the Deer Creek Catch Pen Loop trailhead. But you can see ahead, it's not horrible as far as traversing. It's not that steep, and you stay on the pine needles, and you get a little more traction than on this limestone. And then looking up, wow, there are caves up there that you just can't get to. Here is another one. Caves in the limestone. Sorry for moving it around, but it's the best I'm going to be able to do. I'm on an insecure footing. Okay, anyway, that's Mummy's Nose. And let's continue on and see if we can actually skirt at this altitude. It's around 9,600 feet. Skirt around the eastern base of Mummy's Nose. But here's something interesting. A little tire in the middle of nowhere. And some other debris below. And a larger tire and a little more debris above. There's the tire. Let's investigate. Leads me to believe that this could be a potential site of an air crash. Have to look in the history books, see if a plane did go down in this area. We don't know. I don't know what else with wheels would be up at this altitude, but let's go explore up there, see what we can find. Yes, I think I'm at the site of an air crash. This looks like one of the larger wheels, smaller plane, and there's debris all over this wash here. And what I would imagine is that the plane, and it's a small plane, I would guess. Wonder if they ever found this before. I would imagine somebody's found it. But what I'd imagine is that the small plane crashed into the cliffs of Mummy's Nose eastern side above us, and then over time the pieces have washed down this gully. And yeah, we will just continue up the gully and see what else we find up here. Maybe this is a crash that has been discovered before. Not many people traverse this area, so maybe not. But I would imagine somebody knows something about this crash. So we'll have to look around, do a little research. Continuing to find small debris that is washed down this gully from above. Maybe there's something larger up above us. We don't know. But you can see the steep gully, and I would say that there's a lot more buried in the deep sediment in this gully than what we're seeing that happens to have made its way to the surface. So let's continue going up, see what we can find. More small debris. Not being a pilot or an aircraft engineer, I don't know what these pieces are. I'm sure somebody does. Let's continue on up, see what we find. More debris. All the debris here is pretty small, which leads me to believe that something hit the cliffs up above very violently and broke up. And another observation is that there's debris across a wide area of this gully. There's been some on the other side of the gully. So yeah, really scattered. Okay, onward. Biggest piece yet. Looks like it's part of the engine, and this piece has some identification on it. Here it is. Some part numbers. Okay, we're closing in on the upper end of this gully, and there's more above. Okay, here's some more pieces. This one says it's a step check. Yeah, we're closing in on the base of the cliffs here. Turning out to be a pretty steep gully, which accounts for everything washing down, all the small parts at least. Couple more pieces. This one has some writing on it. and a little tube up here. Or a wire. And like I imagined a little earlier, um, if this much is visible on top of the gully, there's probably a lot more beneath the gully. But let's continue on up a bit, see what we can find. Okay, even at this height in the gully, right at the base of the cliffs, I'm still finding pieces of the crash. And so I'm thinking that the crash happened against the face of the cliffs above and then just broke into little pieces. I'm not going to go any further today. Let someone else explore this. But yeah, look at the cliffs. These are the eastern cliffs of Mummy's Nose. Pretty impressive. And I guess a rock climber of sufficient experience and skill could scale some of these cliffs, or at least continue up this gully a little further and see what's above. But I'm at the end of my line and there's a lot of descent. Wow, look at this. Yeah. So anyway, descending, heading back. Beautiful trees. I thought I saw something that looked like a propeller down in the wash. We'll see if we can find that. But otherwise, yeah, let's see if we can find that eastern cliff and return to the um, Catchpen Loop trailhead. Here we go. So here's my final assessment that the plane must have, a small plane must have crashed into the side of the eastern cliffs above. These are the eastern cliffs of Mummy's Nose and broken up into a lot of little pieces, which then washed down the gully we ascended just a moment ago. So now what? Well, let's see. Let's look around the other side here. And this is the edge of the cliff we've been looking at. You can see it on the right side of the screen there. And rounding below the edge would be our continued approach to Mummy's Head from Deer Creek Road. It's a long approach, a lot of traversing loose rock. Of course, I wouldn't have gone this high had it not been for just checking out that plane crash. But yeah, what I'm going to do is descend now and look for that eastern cliff connection, the eastern ridge, the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon, and then descend back to the Deer Creek Catchpen Loop trailhead. So here we go. I just had to traverse a little bit further, and yeah, we're looking at an area that could be below, I guess around this cliff that you see ahead on the right is that area that descends from the saddle that we reached earlier from Lee Canyon in traveling up to Mummy's Nose from Lee Canyon. So yeah, right around the cliff is that saddle, and there you can see a lot of glare, but you can see the eastern cliffs of Mummy's Nose. In fact, we might even be past the saddle, not sure, just couldn't say. But I think that, yeah, it's not a horrible traverse along the edge here where I've been, and at this altitude. And I do believe that you could approach Mummy's Forehead from Deer Creek Road by this route that I've taken. You can see there's Mummy's Toe in the center, and you can see the slopes below, and that canyon that ascends up to the approach to Mummy's Forehead. It ascends to that saddle between the main summit of Mummy and Mummy's Forehead, or Mummy's Chin, all those parts of Mummy. And it's right in that area. So yeah, this could actually work out. And if I hadn't been sidetracked by pursuing the bits of the plane crash, we might have gone further today. And definitely on another day, maybe next summer, we'll um, traverse this stretch a lot faster, get further on. There's Mummy's Toes, or toe. I guess Mummy just has one toe. So, yeah, it's time to turn around. Definitely head back. I think I saw something that looked like a propeller. I want to go back to that gully and see what that was. And just possibly that area up above, right up in this area, to the left of the cliffs above, just possibly is that saddle that you reach when you're heading to Mummy's Nose from Lee Canyon. That could be the upper saddle right there. And then what you do is descend this gully and then circle around in this direction to go to Mummy's Forehead. So yeah, that's another potential route. So okay, let's head back. Well, nothing as significant as a propeller, but looks like part of the wing, but not sure why they would use this kind of a strap around a part of the wing. And then as you move up, it looks like bullet holes up here. Hopefully after the plane crashed. So there you have it. More of the plane. One more piece we're going to look at is what's right down here. And then we got to head back. Okay, one more piece here, and then we're going. I have no idea what this is. Looks like part of the fuselage, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, there you have it. Plane crash on the eastern cliffs of Mummy's Nose, and we have no idea any of the details, just the debris we found in this gully. And there is our return traverse. We'll see if it's a little easier than coming in this direction. At least we're maybe angling downhill. We don't know. Well, it looks like I might be connecting with the eastern ridgeline this time. I usually end up not being able to get to the eastern ridgeline, but yeah, this time looks like we might be able to. I need to be on, let's see. Yeah, a couple high points ahead. I need to hit those high points and then head down to the trailhead. So let's see what happens. And then here we are in a very beautiful place. We've been descending this ridgeline, which I believe is the eastern ridgeline. Let's see if I can do a complete 360 without wiping out. Okay. Yeah. And there's Mummy's Nose. There's Mummy's Toe and Bristlecone Ridge. And then back to this eastern ridge line that we're descending. Let's see if we can actually do it this time. Well, finally, I did make the eastern ridge. So we are on the eastern ridge line now and descending the way that we ascended down to the trailhead below. This is 7 Mile Canyon you're looking at. There's the western ridge on the horizon and the middle ridge, mid-ridge here, going straight up to Mummy's Nose, and then of course the eastern ridge, and then Mummy's main summit, ending with Mummy's Toe, and then the bristlecone pine ridge, and then over to the La Madre Mountains. Looking great in this sunlight. And finally, there's Angel Peak and the eastern ridge we are descending. So this should be fun. Okay, onward. Okay, now as I remember, you see two high points ahead, and the one on the left is where I will find the saddle. I don't need to climb the one on the right, the higher one, but at the one on the left, then I head across a saddle and continue down the eastern ridge. And there is the Desert View parking area. Then you're looking at the desert view from a much better perspective. There's the sheep range. Angel Peak, Camp Stimpson down in this direction, and there is the Camp Stimpson parking area right off of Deer Creek Road, unmarked, but it's a really nice parking area. So let's continue on. And I think the route is we get to this high point and then take a slight left over to this high point and then just head down the ridge to the base of 3 Mile Canyon. And let's see if we've got, what kind of view do we have of Mummy's Nose? Hey, this is pretty good. There it is, sun hidden behind a cloud. Who could ask for better? Okay, the actual ridge continues up to a high point over in this direction and then dives downward. But here's an interesting little gully that I predict is going to lead right to Forest Road 0928. I think it's 0920. I'm forgetting my numbers. Anyway, let's take this gully down this beautiful ponderosa forest, and let's see if that does connect with the forest road and then the trailhead. Well, this gully is turning out to be really nice and gradual all the way down. We'll see if it gets all the way down to the forest road. There's looking in the up direction. And yeah, if this bears out, continues the way it's going, its gradual way, this would be another way to probably a less dramatic incline to get onto the eastern ridge if you're heading up the way that we did today. Okay, onward. Well, this gully continues to be really nice and gradual as a pathway up to the eastern ridgeline. Wow, look at this. So the question will be, where does it empty out? At the base of the canyon, and then we can find it next time. Okay, here's an easy way to find the approach to the gully. Here's the forest road below, and you can see right where it splits. And the 029 goes up in this direction. 029A goes up in this direction. So if you're going to the western ridge, you take this split. If you're going up the center of the canyon, you take this split. And if you want the eastern ridge, just take a left and head up this slope, this nice gradual slope that'll turn into the gully. And so this is really a key spot for 3 Mile Canyon, where you can split off to the west, you can head up the center, and you can split off to the east. Okay, and then the trailhead's just around the corner, and Deer Creek Road. So here we go. And here we are again on Forest Road 029 or 092. There's 092. Here's 092A. Going up to the 092, heading up to the western ridge toward Mummy's Nose. 092A, heading up the center of 3 Mile or 7 Mile Canyon. I'm getting a little loopy, I guess. And angle left, and you'll head up the eastern ridge and find an approach to Mummy's Forehead, past the eastern side of Mummy's Nose to Mummy's Forehead. And now, as we close in on the trailhead, quick review of what we've done today. We started out at the Ketchpen Loop trailhead and headed up the eastern ridge of 7 Mile Canyon. and then took a kind of angled to the left around the left side of Mummy's Nose cliffs. In the meantime, yeah, we encountered thunderstorms, but continued on. And so we headed up around the left side of Mummy's Nose, and then eventually we were looking for Mummy's forehead. And eventually what we found was a gully with debris from a plane wreck, and the plane evidently must have slammed into the cliffs of Mummy's Nose. So we documented the plane wreck as much as we could. Didn't find the main section. I think that was higher up in the cliffs than we went. But anyway, yeah, that is the extent of our adventure today. And here we are now. Deer Creek Road is immediately ahead. It's been an awesome day. And now that the temperature is beginning to lower, it is the second week of September. And we'll be in the 90s next week down in the Las Vegas Valley. And that's where I'm going to attempt El Bastardo in the La Madre Mountains. We're looking at about 8,000 feet at that point on the summit, and then maybe even cross over to Red Rock Canyon. From Kyle Canyon Road, starting out Kyle Canyon Road and ascending the Harris Springs Road up to El Bastardo, and then traverse along the La Madre ridgeline and potentially end up in Red Rock Canyon. So we'll see how all that bears out. Here we're back at the Beast. Been an awesome day.